what's up, guys? This is going to be the first video in a series brought to you by the Legion series. Hopefully will get you better in Counter-Strike Source. This first video is going to be about setting up your computer and setting up Counter-Strike before you actually play, to make sure everything's proper. It's going to go over getting rid of mouse acceleration, overclocking your mouse to a higher response time, and settings in game that could help you out. The first thing we're going to do, get rid of mouse acceleration. The easiest way to do that is go to your control panel, go to your mouse, pointer options, and uncheck enhance pointer precision. What that does is gets rid of, this is for Windows XP by the way, but what that does is gets rid of any mouse acceleration by default that Windows XP has. And what mouse acceleration is it makes your mouse movements inconsistent. Like you would move 2 inches and it could turn you 360 in game, and then you move 2 inches again and you might turn 180 in game. And what you want that to be as consistent as possible. That's why we're trying to remove it. In the sidebar, I've also linked something called CPL mouse fix, and all you do is go to the mouse fix zip file, double click on the mousefix.reg, and it applies it to your registry, and that gets rid of any extra mouse acceleration Windows XP might have. It's debatable whether it really does anything or not, but I don't know. I do it just in case, because mouse acceleration will really kill you in game. It's really bad. Next thing we're going to do is overclock our mouse. I go to the mouse folder in the zip file I have, and there's going to be a folder called HID USB, HID USBF, and then a program called mouse rate. You can click on mouse rate and move your mouse around, and it'll tell you what your mouse rate is right now. By default, unless you have like a Razer or a SteelSeries mouse, it's probably going to say around 125 Hertz. That means you have an 8 millisecond response time on your mouse, and we want to increase that as much as possible. 500 Hertz would be a 2 millisecond response time, and 1000 Hertz would be a 1 millisecond response time. And there's also a README in this folder, but all you have to do, this is for Windows XP. I don't know how this works on other operating systems. You go to setup, and it'll come up with your mouse. It might just say USB device. You're going to click filter on device, and you can choose 1000 or 500. People use both. There's really not much of a difference. You're going to click install service and then restart, and it'll restart your mouse. You can go back to the mouse rate folder and check, and your hertz should be good. The next thing you want to do, in-game settings, I have a autoexec config file in this zip file that I have uploaded, and you put this, you go to start, my computer, wherever Steam is installed, whatever hard drive, find your Steam folder, steamapps, your username, Counter-Strike source, cstrike, config. I'll put a link where default is in the section below, because that might be a little lengthy, but you just drop the autoexec folder in your config folder, your CFG folder, and what that does is the autoexec loads after your config file loads when you start Counter-Strike. And in this I have some basic settings, some basic graphic settings that'll help you out. We'll go over those in a sec. It also has some bybinds, so you're welcome. Next thing we want to do is set our launch options for Counter-Strike. A lot of people will put mouse commands in here, but for Counter-Strike Source those aren't needed at all. It doesn't make any kind of difference if you put them in there or not. It feels the exact same. The launch options I use are DX level 81, and you want to make sure you use that, because now that Z-Block's out, all competitive servers are going to force DirectX level 81, so you need to make sure that's in there. The next thing I put is my resolution, and I put width -W 640, and that's width 640 pixels, because I play at 640 by 480. If you play at 800 by 600, you should put -W 800. Pretty simple. Launch Counter-Strike. Now the auto exec I gave you, there's a lot of these commands by default, but when I first started, first thing I do is set all my controls, make sure console is enabled, and I always use fast weapon switch because it's a lot faster to switch weapons. You just have to click the number that the weapon is assigned to. You don't have to click or click 2 and then press mouse 1. Adjust brightness levels, always make sure that's 1.6. Advanced, make sure model detail is on low, because there's some models that you can see through if it's on low when it's not on high. Everything else is preference. Make sure shadow detail is on medium and shader detail on high. Will let you see shadows better also. Make sure vertical sync is disabled, otherwise your mouse will feel really weird. If you have a multi-core processor, go for multi-core rendering. Some people have it crash when they use it. I don't. Make sure high dynamic range though. Make sure that's off. That's a huge FPS killer. It really just makes your game look really bright and ugly. So, anti-aliasing, I use none because at the resolution I play at, if I use it, everything gets blurry. And filtering, I use trilinear because it looks decent and it doesn't take too much FPS away. When I play, I want to make sure that I get the highest FPS possible. I really don't care what the game looks like. It's a 5-year-old game anyway. It doesn't really matter. Multiplayer tab, advanced. I use the weapon alignment left-handed. I suggest somebody try it out. I like it more than right-handed. I don't know why. It's just different, I guess. Center player names, make sure that's checked. Disable freeze cam. You can uncheck synchronize with Steam Cloud, because that way it'll load right from your config instead of trying to sync you up with your previous settings. That's all the settings in there. Oh, crosshair. I suggest a lot of people use a really small crosshair. They use a custom crosshair size, like the smallest it'll go, because they think it improves accuracy. That's really not true. I suggest you try using a large or medium crosshair, and instead of like the small crosshair, I don't know, it just feels weird with the recoil and stuff, and it's hard to get in people's heads. I use a large, a 640 by 480, which is pretty big, but I like it a lot better. I think I'm a lot more accurate with it than I am with like crosshair scale 20,000. I don't know what the max is. And you can lock radar position. That's personal preference. Now you should be good to go. Your mouse is overclocked. You've got rid of the mouse acceleration, and your game is set up. One last thing: some people they have trouble with DirectX level 81. Like when they put that in their launch options, it causes stutters in game or something. I never had it, but if you have that problem, you can just, after you launch the game with DirectX level 81, your game will always be in DirectX level 81 unless you go to the launch options and change it again. So you can just take that out of your launch options, and the next time you launch the game, it'll be in 81, and you won't have that stuttering problem. And that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. More to come soon. So keep looking, subscribe, and that's it.